Hey everybody, Poker Dad here, doing another session review video. Tonight I played 3 tables of regular tables on Ignition, so I am going to go over the hands that saw the pot saw 15 big blinds or more, and just take a look and see what kind of mistakes maybe I made, what kind of good plays maybe I made, what kind of bad beats I probably had, which, spoiler alert, had a bad one. Not sure if I could have played it any better or worse, so that's something I'll have to look into tomorrow. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump into this session review here at NL25 on Ignition. I am leaving HUDs off of the table here because I did convert this from hand to note to Poker Tracker, so the HUD isn't per player; it's like accumulated from the entire session, so they're not going to be useful for this hand review. And anyway, it's not really that important considering the small sample size anyway, players at Ignition. Anyway, again, this was on regular tables. It wasn't fast fold, so let's get at it here. We have Ace King offsuit from the small blind, from the middle position here, and we get a call from the button. We completely missed this one here, so our plan here is to check fold. We check, and our opponent checks back. So when the 7 comes out here, now it's a good spot for a delayed c-bet bluff, which we do, about 2/3 pot size bet. Our opponent calls, don't really love that. King comes out though, so at least we do have top pair. So I have an option of here of checking or at least getting some kind of thin value. I actually decided to actually bet for value here, betting 3/4 pot. So I don't know. I guess this is okay. Betting pretty big here. The question is, like, what is he really calling? I mean, if he had something like a full house here, or even a flush, he probably would have raised me on the here. So I guess I'm just trying to get. I don't really know if I love this bet size here. I think I'd rather just do a smaller bet here. I think this is too big of a bet here. I'm pretty vulnerable with one pair. Just trying to get some thin value out of it. We could be worried about possible 2-pair calling us here. Maybe he has a 4 or something like that. So I would rather actually see myself bet a little bit smaller here. He ends up folding it, which works out great. So obviously he didn't have. He probably just folded air here. Not sure what he might have been calling with, unless he had maybe a pair of 8s or just some kind of other pair that he folds out here. And under bet actually probably might have gotten me a call, but here to such a large bet, we're never getting called by anything worse most of the time. So I don't like that bet size. Here we have Ace Jack from the small blind. And I do 3-bet here, and a call comes in. We're going to check as we completely miss this board here. This board is much better, as I learned today studying 3-bets. Much better for the caller than it is for the raiser here. As the caller will probably have more queens in his range than we would. I think that's queen. Yeah. Normally, definitely, unless I was bluffing, of course, here. But this is definitely a better board for the caller than it is for the raiser. My opponent does decide to bet into me here, and I definitely have to fold this up. Here I raise from the button, just a min size raise here, 2 big blinds. Get a call from the small blind, and we go multi-way when the big blind calls as well. We get a middle pair here on a pretty drawy board. Not a great spot in the multi-way pot. But it goes check to me, so I'm definitely going to throw out the bet, having position. Just hoping to take it down right here. Unfortunately, we do get a call. Fortunately, we do hit 2-pair, which is a pretty nice situation for me. Still kind of a drawery board, but feeling pretty good about my 2-pair. Also, the nice thing here about this board, we can also notice, is the fact that I am not blocking any of his bluffs here as well, which is and definitely an added benefit here by having a club and a spade, and the drawers are diamonds and hearts. But on the other hand, if if the flush does possibly complete. We're also not feeling too great about it because we're not blocking any of that stuff. Anyway, my opponent checks. Obviously, I'm going to throw out. I throw out a pretty big bet here because this is kind of for protection as well, as it is for value. I kind of want to throw out a pretty big bet here, and make him pay for a draw he might be on. He does decide to call it, which is good for me at this point. And a 6 comes out, and it's a 6 of spades. So, if he was on any draws, he definitely missed. So he checks, and I decide to definitely bet for value here. I decided to bet half pot. In retrospect, I don't really love this bet. I would have liked to see myself bet a little bit bigger. My only concern here is if he has a king, then he's going to have a better 2 pair. And that really, I think, was more of my thinking was if he did have a king, he's going to have a better 2 pair now. And in retrospect, maybe this should be a check back or at least a bet for thin value. Either way, I mean, a half pot bet is fine too. But that's the reason why I didn't bet bigger here, is because I can be beat by a king now at this point when the 6s come out, because he would have a better 2 pair than me. But he folds, so we did not end up in that situation. Here we have King Jack suited here from the button. In 1 second, I just want to show this fan. I assume you're probably hearing the fan in the background. Probably sounds like I'm in a tunnel or something. This should be better now. Anyway, here we go. King Jack suited from the button. And 1 second here. I think. Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to check on another record. I actually recorded this session for myself, not posting it on YouTube, but just recorded myself and playing a session because I wanted to watch it back later. So I'm kind of doing that in the background too. Anyway, King Jack suited here from the button. We raise it up, and we get a 3-bet. So I have an option to 4-bet here or to just call. Being in position, I prefer to have the call instead, and I do. So this flop here, we unfortunately don't have any kind of backdoor flush draw. All we have is the gut shot here. So, it's okay. It's an okay spot. Don't love it though, because with the ace and the queen being out there, definitely our opponent's going to have some aces and queens in this range. This is definitely a much better range for a much better board for him in his range than it is for my range. He does check though, so when he checks here, this is definitely a good spot for me to throw out a float bet. I throw out a half-off float bet, considering this is a 3-bet pot. My opponent then raises me here. So we know that the rule here, especially at these particular stakes, at ignition, we really should be folding to a raise unless we have outs to improve. Now we do have outs to improve here. Because if a 10 hits, we do hit a straight. So this is a spot I definitely would like to see me call this raise here. And unfortunately, I fold. And I think, I think my reasoning behind folding here, and I'm not sure if this was actually the correct play, and I'm going to tag this hand. I'm going to try and take a look at this one tomorrow. Was the fact that I missed all my backdoor draws, and I would have liked to have had a backdoor draw as well. And it definitely is concerning getting into the situation here, because we're going to be getting into such a big, potential big pot. But if you want to look at it the other way, okay, even though he did raise here, it's pretty much a min raise. So I probably should never be folding a gut shot here in this spot. So in retrospect, probably the wrong fold here. I'm going to take a look at it tomorrow through Card Runners EV, but I think probably the wrong fold here. I think a call definitely would have been plus EV because of the fact that we do have a gut shot, and at least see the turn, and then we could always give up on the river if we don't hit our 4 outs on the turn. Here we have ace queen offsuit from under the gun, so we bet here. We get a call from the button, and we kind of miss this board here. We do have a spade, which is helpful in a way, but just a much better board here for the caller than for us. We check, our opponent checks back, so this is great. Now we're just going to throw out a delayed c-bet bluff here. And we do that, and our opponent calls. Queen comes out, so it's a pretty nice river for us here. I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, I feel like a set definitely would have raised here. Two pair probably would have raised here with like, if he has something like 5-6 suited, which is only a couple of combos of that. So definitely feeling good with a queen coming out here. I think this is a good spot for some thin value. Could even go a little bit bigger too. I throw out a half pot bet. I think that's fine here. I mean, I guess I could probably bet a little bit bigger too, but maybe we can get him to call here with a worse pair. But he folds it up. Here you have jacks here from the cutoff. So we're definitely going to be throwing out a 3-bet here versus the under the gun. Get a call from the big blind, and the original raiser actually does fold up here. So one thing I got to remember also to look at tomorrow is just to make sure that that my ranges were correct, my pre-flop ranges were correct. I always have to keep on reminding myself of that as well, as to check on those pre-flop ranges each day and make sure I am making the right plays. Anyway, I am almost certain that this is the correct play. In fact, I'll just double check. I have my, whoops. I'm pretty sure that we should always be 3-betting jacks here in this spot. Even versus the under the gun open jacks, definitely a 3-bet. I'm not putting the ranges on screen because they are pay ranges, and I don't want to give away the information for free. Anyway, here we are. Our opponent checks to us. We're definitely going to throw out a half pot c-bet and a 3-bet pot in position with our second pair. Pretty vulnerable, of course. Any king, any ace comes out, we're in trouble. Our opponent folds it, and we take it down. Here we have king 9 offsuit. Here we're going to throw out a min raise, and we get a call from the big blind. We get 2 pair. Beautiful way to start this hand. So here's an issue, and this is always very concerning, is when you're getting a donked into. Traditionally donk bets is supposed to be weak bets, but I have been finding that these donk bets have actually been very strong bets. But we have 2 pairs, so definitely feeling good about that. Obviously, the biggest concern here is that he's going to have a set of 3s. But I do decide to raise him here. I think this is a perfect type of raise versus a donk bet when I have a hand like 2 pair or better. I'm more hesitant to do this against when I have 1 pair. Something I did research on. I did a training video, like one training video on how to handle donk bets. Maybe I should check more training videos, do more research on what donk bets really mean and how much fold equity we have when we raise versus donk bets. Something I'm definitely going to want to do, especially as I build more data into hand to note. But here, definitely, I think a good spot for a raise here with 2 pair. Pretty strong hand at this point on a super dry board too. But the dry boards also always makes it a little more concerning when the donk bet comes out because of the fact that this is not a dry board at all. What exactly is he donk betting here with? Sets are very concerning. He does call, and a 5 comes out, so really this is a very, very dry texture, this whole board here. Now it goes check. I'm definitely going to have to throw out a double barrel here, but my plan here is to double barrel, but if he calls, I'm going to see. So here's the 2 situations we got here. If he raises here, I'm feeling really concerned at this point that he does have a set of 3s. If he calls and then donks into us here, that's also very concerning that he could have a set of 3s. Now, if he calls and then he checks, then I think checking. I feel like I could check. I feel like checking or thin value is the right play because the donks are very concerning, and he folds. So it works out for us anyway. I don't know what he could have been donking us with here on such a dry board. The only thing that he could have been donking with here, because sometimes you will see players donk with backdoor flush draws. So my guess is possibly he had a backdoor flush draw, maybe a suited ace, and obviously when the turn is a complete brick, he would fold. So my guess is he has something probably like a suited ace. The cool thing is I'll get to see that. I can see that tomorrow when if I have the time when Ignition's hand history comes out. I can see exactly what it is he did have. And my guess here is that he would probably have suited ace. In fact, I'm just gonna tag this one here just as a reminder to myself, if I can, to go and take a look and see what he had. But yeah, I'm just guessing it was a suited ace, and he donked with that. Here I have ace king suited. Speaking of suited aces, from the cutoff, and I open raise here. Get a call from the small blinds, and we go multi-way when the big blind calls as well. Here we have top pair. Top pair in the back door, nut flush draw. So I like this. Is a pretty good spot here. You know, we definitely want to have hands that can make straights and flushes, and we do have that. Plus, we have top pair, top kicker to go along with it. So we're definitely going to throw out a half pot C bet here in the multi-way pot, get a call, and both of our opponents come along with us. And now we do hit that flush draw, which is really nice. So looking really good here. We decided to bet again. Now this time I'm going to bet a little bit bigger here. See if we can get one of these guys to fold out. Then we get this really awkward moment here where our opponent raises us. This is let's see. The pot here was 22.44, and he is raising it up here 30.68. Divide. I just want to see. I mean, it's like a 2x raise, so it's a really small raise here. I mean, for a turn raise, this is pretty close to what you'd want to have for a turn raise. Maybe a little bit bigger, maybe like 35. 35 big blinds here, maybe. But obviously, so the rule here again, and when we get raised, is we don't want to call these raises when we have no ways to improve. Clearly here we can improve to a nut flush, so not something that we are going to want to fold here. If we do happen to brick the river though and not get our flush, then I think here what we can do is, if our opponent then leads into us on the river, we can fold our ace high top kicker. And if he doesn't, and if he checks, then we could just check back. With a hand like this right here, the concern is he's raising. Probably he could have a set. It's pretty unlikely that he has a flush here, because he calls my half pot bet. It's more likely that a pair of eights would have called my half pot bet here on the flop than a backdoor flush draw. A backdoor flush draw, you would think in the multi-way pot would probably give up. So it's unlikely, I think, that he has a flush draw. Plus the fact that we have two clubs, it's more likely going to be hands like pocket eights, or quite possibly another hand that would have called. And now he could have a hand like ace-8 suited. Though the combos are, there's only going to be combos of ace-8 spades or hearts, but those are other hands that he could have that would have definitely called the flop and now would raise the turn. Turn raises generally are two pair or better, especially at these stakes, especially at this particular site. So ace-8 is definitely a possibility here as well. But I'm definitely going to call here since I do have the nut flush possibility. Unfortunately, we do not hit on the river. So like I said, if he bets into us here, this really should be a fold. And he does bet into us. He shoves all in. Pretty clear fold at this point. And, that shove again could be two pair like ace-8, ace-10 that's slow played, or, a set of eights as well, I think. One thing I learned is that just players are not bluffing nearly enough at all, so you can just respect their raises completely. And if you don't have the outs, then there's really no point in continuing, even with top pair. Here we have King 10 offsuit from the big blind, and we get a raise from the cutoff. And I call. I think this is the correct call. If I went and double check, which I will tomorrow, I am almost 100% this is the correct call versus a cutoff open. Here we have a gut shot. We check, and our opponent bets into us here. They bet about 2/3 pot bet. Definitely should be calling this here. We hit top pair now, and this is just a terrible. I'm not top pair, second pair. This really is not a great spot for me here. Because of course, if he has a hand like Jack 10 that might have c-bet, um, he's in great shape now. If he has ace, he's still in good shape. Um, but we still do have the gut shot. He bets into us here. He actually bets a little smaller now, so he bets a little bit over half pot. So because of this bet here, I just know from my my plan really here, and I know this just from my studies, is that I definitely want to be calling second pair here, especially also when I do have an out with the jacks as well. I think actually calling is the correct play here and folding to a triple barrel. So I do call and I check, and my opponent checks back, and we end up taking it down with the king. So definitely, I love the way we played this hand here, calling with second pair on the turn, having outs, second pair, especially when he bets small. If he bets bigger, he bets like pot size bet there, we can find the fold button. But with his bet sizing, we could definitely call it with second pair and just give up on the river. Especially also when we do have the out to the straight as well. Here we have ace-8 of diamonds. So this was definitely a tricky spot here, as you will see. This is a spot I'm not really sure if I played it correctly or not, but we'll show you the hand. I definitely remember this hand here. Definitely going to raise it up here versus the limper with ace-8 suited from the button. And we get the raise. So this is the thing, is these limp raises suck. Almost always they mean the nuts. They mean hands like ace king, pocket aces, pocket kings, maybe sometimes pocket queens, hands like that. So a lot of these recreational players, especially short stack players, will limp and then raise, and it's a tricky spot because this is one of these mental game issues where it's like you got to be able to say, all right, well, we know that most of these players are doing this with this type of hand, and we really should be folding in most cases here. Now, I end up calling this hand here, and the reason why I did call it was because I had a suited ace. Again, not sure if this is the right play or not, if I should just be folding, because generally we know what these types of players have. But I decided to call it nonetheless. I think in retrospect this is the wrong call, and I should just be folding. Maybe I can call hands. Hands like if I want to call suited aces, calling Broadway suited aces, or maybe ace 2 through 5. But ace 8 probably should be a fold here. And to make matters worse here, I get a really good flop. I get a pair of eights, plus I have a backdoor nut flush draw. My opponent decides to shove here, and I decide actually to call him. This particular call, I don't have a problem with the call because of the fact I have a pair of aces. The problem is the call on the flop, because what we will see here as we see the board run out the way it did is he had ace king, and this is what these players are doing when they limp raise like this. These are the types of hands they're doing it with. And this was a tough spot, because maybe it shouldn't have been a tough spot because he has ace king, ace ace, or king king in most situations here. And if he has ace ace or ace king, king king, ace king, I am never. I'm screwed here. The only way I can win this hand is, if he has ace ace, is if an 8 comes out. If he has ace king, obviously I get a little bit unlucky. When the ace comes out, I was ahead. So I'm not really sure if this is a borderline play. I really should bring this one to the forums and kind of get an idea on if this is like how to play. This is one of those spots that just drives you nuts. So I'm going to review this one. I think I'm going to bring this one to the forums and get their opinions on how to play a hand like this. Should it just always be folding in that spot versus the limp raise? I'm not really sure. Here I have ace 10 suited here from the button. We get a poster here, and I raise it up, and he calls. So here with the ace 10, we get top pair. Very good kicker. No backdoor flush draw, which kind of sucks, but my opponent checks into us. We decide to put out a hefty size, 2/3 size bet. Definitely the right play here on such a dry texture. I don't see any reason to checking back here. I could always check back here, but in position, I really see no purpose to it. Might as well start getting some value here. Now, should I be checking back here on a dry texture like this? I don't think so. I think actually, I'm just going to double check my notes here for c betting in position. Um, I mean, we're not going to ever be outdrawn on this board here. But I do have a note that says always see bet top pair versus a fish, and always see bet top pair and vulnerable versus a reg. We can check back with backdoor equity. We had no backdoor equity here. So again, so we can always see bet top pair versus a fish. This guy's definitely a fish because he was posting. We know that. Always see bet top pair if it's vulnerable. This definitely is not vulnerable here. Versus a reg, we could always check back, but clearly this guy's not a reg. He's definitely a fish because of the fact he posted, and he came in. Did he come in? Did he come in short stack? He came in short stack and he posted. Clearly a fish, so definitely a C bet here. He calls. Uh, Five comes out here. Five of hearts. Not too concerned here, unless he's doing something crazy with a bigger ace. Um, we decide to throw out again a double barrel, and our opponent folds. Ace 10 from the under the gun, suited. Here we get we get two pair. Really nice spot. Only concern here, of course, is going to be the potential flush. So don't love that. Obviously, we're going to have to definitely throw out a C bet here. We throw out a 2/3 pot bet. Our opponent calls. Not loving the call, but I'm okay at this point. He doesn't raise it, so maybe he's going to slow play a flush. But there's no reason for me to take the foot off of the gas here with two pair. Again, don't love the fact here he does call it again. Don't love the fact, of course, that there is a flusher out there. But I feel pretty confident if I triple barrel here and he raises, I could easily fold out of this hand here. But he does decide to call it, so I'm feeling definitely pretty good with my two pair. Unfortunately, he had ace queen offsuit and had a better two pair than me that he didn't three bet. Not sure even if he would have three bet if it would have mattered because we would have called the three bet anyway. Not really sure if I could have played this hand any differently. I really think that triple barreling is the best idea because if I check, what am I going to do at that point? Am I going to fold? Am I going to fold two pair here? I don't really think so. So another interesting hand maybe to look at here if I should be playing it any differently. Here we have sevens from the button. So I just call here. No reason to try and do anything fancy with the sevens. Nice thing here is I do hit a set of sevens, so that's pretty good here in a multi-way pot, four ways. It's good and it's bad because look at this board though. This board is terrible actually. We have a flush draw and also we have a straight possibility as well with 5-4 or 10-9, which any one of these guys could absolutely have here. So not the best board here for my set. But when it goes check, 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 of course, going to bet half pot in the multi-way pot. I could even bet smaller here with being four players, but I decided to bet half pot. My hand's really strong. We get a call. We actually get two calls here, so definitely a super interesting spot. Not feeling great at this point. Once the 8 comes out, though, feeling super great. Hit a full house. Goes check, check. Now I'm definitely betting for value here. So I bet 2/3 here now, and both of our opponents call again. I mean, I can't be feeling much better about this hand than I already am. I have the nuts here at this point. The only way I'm losing is to quads at this point. Ace comes out. Again, not too worried about an ace. The only one's going to have ace is the pre-flop raiser. And I'm not sure I don't remember who the pre-flop raiser was here. Who was the pre-flop raiser? This guy's a pre-flop raiser, so he's not even in the hands anymore. He's gone. So I mean, we definitely have the nuts here. There's nothing that could possibly be beating us here. Our opponent shoves all in. We will happily call. In fact, I just raised it up a little bit more. I guess that wasn't necessary because this guy was short stack anyway. I guess it wasn't really necessary. Anyway, regardless, we take it down. I don't know what he had. I'll find out tomorrow what he had. But this was a pretty awesome pot to take down considering it was multi-way. Not too shabby, taking down 235 big blinds. Then there was the next hand. Spoiler alert. This hand is brutal. So anyway, Uh, this is actually the very next hand on the next table, on the same exact table. Very next hand. We open up here with two twos, pretty standard cutoff, and our opponent raises us here. So this is a min raise here. I'm pretty sure we always want to be calling. In fact, I'm just going to double check right now, but I'm pretty sure we always want to be calling here. This is cutoff versus a 3-bet from the blinds. A min bet, 6 big blinds. Yep, definitely 100% calling here in this spot. We do. And woohoo, awesome, good stuff. We hit a set. So this is pretty cool. 2 hands in a row. Same table. We hit a set. It's time to build this awesome stack we literally just built up here. Our opponent, of course, bets into us here. Pot size bet. Pretty crazy bet size, by the way. Take note of that, actually. I didn't even notice this until now, that he is actually betting a pot size bet here in a 3-bet pot. Interesting. He min bets, he min 3 bets, and then he pot size bets here. Pretty strong bet here. Interesting spot here. I mean, what is he doing this with here? Could he have a better set than me? It's possible. Could he have a hand like aces or kings maybe, which would be above the queens? Possible here. But of course we're not going to be folding a set, of course. Opponent calls it here, of course. I mean I call it. And ace comes out. I don't know. I don't think I'm really too worried about the diamonds here in this spot, especially when he bets here. When he bets pot size bet on the flop. By the way, I decided not to raise the twos here. The set of twos. I decided not to raise the set of twos here. I don't always have to raise a set of twos. It was kind of a weird situation. Maybe I should be raising my twos here. But my thought process was in a 3-bet pot, I wasn't going to. Plus, I'm super deep as well at this point. I don't think it's necessary to raise there. I could really raise on the flop. Plus, he pot size bet too, which was just kind of weird as well. My opponent this time now decides to check. So he pot size bet and then he checked. So now, of course, I'm definitely going to throw out a value bet here. Feeling pretty good about my twos. Should be ahead at this point. My opponent calls it. So, maybe he just has like an overpair like kings. This is definitely something I can see kings doing here. Where, he's going to check call now that the ace comes out. He's definitely concerned about the ace coming out. 6 comes out here, so now I'm definitely feeling super great about my set of twos. My opponent donk bets into me here. Doesn't shove all in. You'll notice he doesn't shove all in. He was 15.76 big blinds behind. Super weird play here. What the hell does this mean? I don't know. My biggest concern here is that he has a better set than me. He raised it. He bets pot and check calls the turn and then bets out the river with a pot size bet. What the freak does this mean? Well, I will show you what this means. This means he has a set of aces. So this really sucked because, again, this was on the same table. I just won that huge full house, and I gave away pretty much everything. I'm left with 111 big blinds. Gave away all my winnings there. But what the hell do you do? This is such a weird line. I'm gonna take a look. We're gonna review this one as well. What do you do in this spot? What in God's name do you do in this spot? I don't know. I seriously don't know. I'm gonna post this hand as well. It's a baffling mystery to me. What exactly you do in this spot, because I don't even think you could ever put him on aces here. It's such a weird line. Such a weird line. If you guys have any comments on this line, on how to react here, do I call this bet? And I think I pretty much, maybe I thought about it for a minute, but I remember after this hand happened, I was kind of annoyed, and I'm like, I gotta fold here. Obviously it's a better set. But now when I watch this hand in slow motion, it's not obvious at all what he has, because the line is just baffling. Because he had a better set and didn't even raise. He didn't even raise the turn. I let out in the turn. He just called. I I don't know what to say here. I don't know what to say. All right, next hand here we got pocket nine from the button, and there's a and open raise here. We are of course just going to call with the pocket nines. And hey, we got another set. So look, three hands in a row where we got at least a set. Our opponent bets into us here. Definitely going to raise it this time. This might have actually, I don't know if it was this at the same exact table. This might have been at the same exact table. Maybe it was a different table. But this time I was not screwing around. I raised my set of nines. Plus, I'm raising my set of nines here because I don't want a multi-weight pot. I don't want this guy coming along too. I want to get somebody out. You know, there is a flush draw on the board we don't want to screw around with. My opponent calls. Two comes out, so we have a full house. Feeling pretty good, unless, again, we get hit with pocket aces here. This guy was the original. Keep in mind, this guy was the original raiser. So that does make it a little bit nervous, you know. Plus, you know, we just lost that crazy hand. Anyway, my opponent checks. I throw out a 2/3 pot size bet, and he folds. So we are good with our set this time. We are good with our full house this time. Definitely some crazy. Well, these hands all happened like within minutes of each other too, which was just wild. Pocket eights here. We raise it up from the cutoff. Get a 3-bet from the button. Definitely going to call that. Board comes out as a paired board here. I check. My opponent checks back. Now, again, another full house. So, of course, I'm going to bet here, and my opponent calls. And 3 comes out, so of course we just want to bet one more time here. I bet a 2/3 pot size bet here, and my opponent calls it. So here's an interesting question, and this is something I really need to work on, is as I kind of talk to myself about this later on, is in these spots here when I most likely have the nuts here, I think I should just be shoving here at this point. And if a lot of times, you know, if I'm making mistakes, these guys are making mistakes too, and we could just shove it here, and I think, you know, I think that would be the correct play, is just a shove here. And if he calls, great. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But I think I'm missing out in spots like that where I should probably be shoving, and these guys are calling. Especially, I know, you know, more so at regular tables than at zone. Here we have a 6 here, and I just decide to throw out a limp here just to complete with a6. Hit two pair. Pretty happy about this one here. So I throw out a bet here. Out of position, but it's fine. Our hand is definitely vulnerable here. We get a call, and this guy raises here. Very odd raise as well. Very small raise here. He doesn't raise like 350, 2.96. Definitely going to call it with my 2 pair, and we go multi-way on the raise. So this is definitely concerning. What could possibly be happening here? What's going to happen here is what I'm saying. Then it goes check, check, check. So what is that all about that it goes check, check, check? Well, check, check, check. Okay, maybe he raised a flush draw. What is this guy calling with? Well, okay, he could still be calling here anyway because he's in the middle position of this 3-way pot. This guy, though, most likely was raising with a flush draw, you have to assume. Because if he had anything for value, he's absolutely betting here. Jack comes out now, and the only guy I'm really concerned about is this guy here. I don't really know what he has. This guy here now, I feel pretty confident that he was on a flush draw. He completely missed. I check, and he decides to bet here. And because he bets here, I'm feeling like he just probably was bluffing. I should be good with my a6. And if this guy raises something like that, then I could definitely fold. So I'm definitely going to call here. This guy folds out. And he had 7-6. So he had a pair of sixes. Yeah. So this worked out well for us. This guy was bluffy. This is the rare situation where a guy is actually bluffy. Although, yeah, no. Yeah, he was bluffing, but most people do not bluff here, and especially the spot was a pretty bad spot for him to bluff at because of the fact that because it just was this was a pretty bad bluff actually by him. because of the fact that if he was going to be bluffing anything there that made any kind of sense that would have checked the turn, it would have been a flush draw. And when he checks the turn, he clearly probably had a flush draw. Turns out he has 7-6 anyway. So yeah, I feel pretty good about calling there. Here we have Ace King offsuit from under the gun. And we get a gut shot here, 2 overs. Pretty good spot here for us. I'm definitely going to throw out a C-bet here with the nuts straight. And a raise comes in here. And again, this situation here, when a raise comes in, I'm okay with calling here in this spot because we do have outs to improve. We have 2 overs we can improve on, plus a 10 comes out and we have a straight. So definitely should be calling here. And I do. 8 comes out, and now he puts out a pot size bet, and I think we can give up on this hand here. And we do. Here we have ace 8-9 offsuit. Definitely just going to call here from the small blind, big blind versus small blinds. And we have an open-ended straight draw here. So this spot here, I remember seeing this here, and after I raised here, I realized this is just a really bad play. And the reason why this is a really bad play is because of the fact that sure, it's blind versus blind. He opens up the betting here. I mean, is it a bad play? Is it a terrible play? I think it is, and I think calling is probably better here because the problem is we have the butt end of it. Even though we have an open end and straight draw, we have the butt end of it. If a queen comes out, he has an ace, he's gonna have a better straight. So really, our open ender isn't truly a great open ender. Really, all we want to see is a 7 here. We don't want to see a queen. So for that reason, I think checking is the best play here. Obviously, when he raises us, we're gonna fold out of this because they're really just it's actually really more of a gut shot really than it is an open ender, I think, in my opinion, because of the fact that the queen is pretty bad for us here on this particular, especially on this particular board. I mean, obviously on this particular board. Here we have king queen offsuit from the cutoff. Goes multi-way. Hate that, but do love the fact that we have kings on a super dry board. So this is an easy half pot C bet here. Get a call. And a 5 comes out now. So, I mean, of course, this is, don't love the 5 if he's doing this with, possibly, ace 2 or something like that he might be calling with here, or 6-7. Although it's probably unlikely. He's got hands. I mean, no, okay, 6-7, gut shot, he's going to call at least, at least one is possible here. I guess ace 2 is going to call, is definitely going to call regardless if they have any kind of backdoor draws or anything like that. So, I mean, those hands, those gut shots are going to call in this spot here. So anyway, he checks. We bet. If he raises it, I could just easily fold out of this hand, but he folds. Ace king, I'm sorry. Multi-way again. So I'm going to definitely check here. Bet comes out and we fold, and we don't need to see the rest of this hand. Ace queen offsuit here. So okay, normally we'd be 3-betting ace queen offsuit, but I decided because this guy is a short stack player, and the fact that he bet 3.4 big blinds to open, that actually I should be calling here and not 3-betting. I could be wrong, but here's the problem. We see this a lot at Ignition where a player is going to open this big like this. He's a short stack. Then when you 3-bet him, he shoves. And that's the last thing I want to deal with here is to get shoved on. I'm going to have to fold ace queen offsuit. So I have position on this player. I really feel like a call is the best play here. Plus, it's probably unlikely that one of the blinds is gonna call here as well to a 3.4 big blind. And either way, I'm going to have position. So that's why I decided to actually call ace queen here and not 3-bet. And as thought, both of these guys do fold here. Unfortunately, the flop is not great, but it's super dry too. And my opponent puts out a half pot bet. So because my opponent puts out a half pot bet here, I'm actually going to call with the 2 overs here. I think this is a perfectly fine spot to actually call a C-bet, being this board is so dry, even though we don't have any backdoor equity. If he decides to check here then on the turn, I could throw out a turn flip bet and take down the pot. So I could still win this pot here. 8 comes out here, and he decides to bet again, and he decides to underbet even more. I have two options here. I could call this bet here with ace high, or I can fold here. Actually, I don't remember what I did here. I did fold. I think folding is fine. We got no backdoor equity at all. We have no draws, so peculiar betting by this guy, but he bets so big pre-flop and then is betting so small. Not really sure what that means. That's something I could also definitely take a look at tomorrow, and take a look at the hand history and find out what somebody's doing with a hand like that, because I don't know what he could possibly have. If I had any kind of pair there, I probably am just calling with even bottom pair. Here we have 9/8 suited. And really nice flop for us here. We have a flush draw, and we have middle pair. Definitely a spot here that I'm going to check call. I feel like my hand's just... I don't need to bet this hand here. I don't feel like I'm very vulnerable because of the fact that I do have a flush draw here. So I can easily just check call this here. Feel pretty good about it. 7 comes out. I think right here, again, we just can check call this hand here. We do have showdown value. Our opponent bets, and I call. And now a 2 comes out, and again, at this point now, because now we don't have the draw anymore, I'm going to be more inclined here, because I do have hearts, to assume that if my opponent bets here again, that he has me beat with at minimum a queen here. He checks though, so it works out well for us, and we take down the pot. Really happy with how this one turned out. Here we have ace 5 from the button, so I decide to, because we have, I think this guy was a poster. Yeah, he was a poster. On the button, I'm raising up all my aces up versus posters and limpers. Every single ace is getting raised up. Get a call from the big blind, and the poster folds. So here we have, oh God, okay. Yeah, I remember this hand. So here, by the way, we're against a short stack recreational player. He checks, we bet, he raises here. So again, what is the rule? Okay, there is a rule, and the rule is we should be folding top pair, even top pair. These bets, this first of all, let's look at this board here. It is not that drawy of a board. The problem with this board, though, is that we opened up and he didn't 3-bet. So what the hell is he raising with here? It's a min raise. So this is my thought process here on this board. I can call here. Now, he could always have a better ace that he's doing this with, right? Which if he has a better ace, let's say maybe he's doing this with a backdoor flush draw, which we've seen before. That is possible. He has a backdoor flush draw, backdoor and a flush draw with an ace. So maybe he has suited aces with queens, suited aces with hearts. I have an ace of diamonds. So, that increases the chances that he's doing something like this here. The other things, of course, he could be doing this here is with Jack. Is he flopped a straight with Jack 10? Quite possibly he's doing that as well. Maybe he's got 2 pair, King 10. It's possible. So what I need to be doing here is this. I need to call absolutely 100%. I definitely want to call this flop raise with top pair. But I want to fold to a double barrel. So let's say we have a situation where he does have maybe just some kind of just random backdoor draw that he's raising here. He may give up if that backdoor draw doesn't turn into a full flush draw on the turn. So we can still win the hand. But if we call and then now he leads out, especially if it's super dry, then we should fold. So what happens here is we definitely call. Now, this is not dry. So this makes the hand a little bit more tricky if he is doing this with a backdoor draw. Now he bets again. So the thing is, all I have is top pair, weak kicker. If he is doing this with a backdoor clubs draw, okay, now maybe a lot of times he'd be doing this with a nut backdoor clubs draw. Now it's also, I don't know how often these guys, I'm going to have to check population analysis, how often these guys are even raising flops with backdoor draws. Again, if he has a better ace and a backdoor draw, possible. But, this is a spot here, again, not sure if I should be raising, if I should be calling or folding here. When I look at this hand, I remember this hand specifically. When I look at this hand now, is it possible he has a flush draw? It is possible he has a flush draw. But he still could have hands like King Queen or Jack 10 as well. Or, he's got the flush draw with the better ace as well. So there's a lot of hands here that are beating me. A fold might be the right play here. I don't have any clubs though, which does help. The fact that I don't have any clubs does add into the possibilities of him having a flush draw here. So I decide to call. Now there is a 6, and this is where the problem happens. He decides to shove, and I decide to call. This is a terrible call because we know that these players are very rarely ever bluffing. So he could have a better ace still, because a better ace, he could have, suited aces, clubs, better ace. I mean, unless he has ace 2, 3, or 4, he's beating us here. Again, King Queen. Maybe a set is really unlikely. I don't expect him to have a set here. Or he has Jack 10. So King Queen, Jack 10, or a better ace is doing this. So this call is terrible. A terrible call. Should have folded here. And as you will see, he did have Jack 10, so he flopped it straight. So this is just a terrible call. Okay, here I have 8-7 suited from the cutoff. I raise it up. And we get a raise from the button. Definitely going to be calling this raise here to the 8 big blind bet. Almost certain that this is the correct play. I'm just going to double check my ranges here. So actually, it is the incorrect play. I should be folding here in this spot. It's kind of borderline because it's 8 big blinds, and I don't really have ranges versus 8 big blinds. I have versus 9 big blinds. But versus 9 big blinds, this actually would be a fold. I don't think this is the worst call, though. And we hit an open ender in the backdoor flush draw, which is pretty good. My opponent bets, and he bets super small. Definitely gonna, I have two options here. I can check call, or I can check raise here. Now he did 3-bet us here. So I could do either or here. I do have the backdoor flush, and I have the open ender as well. Gonna mark this hand here. Take a look if the better play is to raise here. I see. I don't raise here because look at his stack. His stacking is super short stacked here. So you could make the argument that because he's super short stacked, also that calling this 3-bet out of position probably was the wrong play. Because he is short stacked. So maybe calling this out of position is probably the wrong play when I think about it more. Anyway, turn does not turn out the way we want it to. He bets all in. Of course, it's an easy fold. Here we have King from under the gun. And it goes multi-way. Hate the fact that it goes multi-way. Love the fact that I hit a set of kings. I'm definitely going to be throwing out a half-pot bet here in the multi-way pot. Get a call. 8 comes out. Still feeling great about my set of kings. There are no sets that can beat me. There are no straight draws or anything like that at this point. So we'll continue to barrel. 2/3 again. My opponent calls. And a jack comes out. So the only thing, of course, that we're worried that could beat us here is a hand like ace-queen. Most of the time, ace-queen is going to 3-bet us, so we feel pretty good. It does not have ace-queen here. No set is better than ours. I decide just to shove because I say at this point, I said just like a little while earlier, I should just be shoving in these spots. This guy has 56 big blinds left at this point. The pot size was 46. There's no reason just not to shove here and try to get the guy's whole stack. We have the best hand. And these people here. This is a board that he called our bet twice. And if he had a draw, he's going to fold to no. If he had a draw, right? If he was on a hearts, right? Which we're blocking heart. Keep that in mind. If he has hearts here, right? Is he ever calling even to the smallest bet? No, he's not. So there is a decent chance here that and we feel pretty good he doesn't have ace queen. So if he has ace queen, so be it. It is what it is. So there's no reason not to shove here. He's going to fold out his draws no matter what we bet. Maybe he will call with, we could bank on the fact maybe he will call with maybe two pair. He could have two pair. King Jack, King 10 is going to make that call. Maybe maybe he can't. Maybe we just saw me call with top pair, right? So if I can do it, we know he can do it. Maybe he has a pair of kings. Unlikely. Maybe it's a pair of kings. Maybe it's a pair of 10s. Who knows? So anyway, that's why I shove. And he calls it. And there you go. A win whole stack. Guy have to start doing more of that kind of stuff. Ace queen offsuit. Ace king offsuit, sorry. 3-bet comes in here. Definitely a good spot to 4-bet. And I call it. Not sure why I called. I called this because we were both deep at the time. Yeah, I just called it because we were both deep at the time. And that's why I decided not to 4-bet it here. Out of position. Probably should have 4-bet it though. Oh, you know why? Oh, I remember why I called this also. I don't have the HUD stats here, but this guy here, this guy here was at the table for over 100 hands, and literally his 3-bet percentage was like 1.6. So over 100 something hands, and he wasn't 3-betting at all. So that's actually why I decided not to 4-bet him, because I have to assume he's doing something like that with. If he's only been 3-betting 1.6 times, then there's a good chance that he has either aces or kings. And if I 4-bet him here, he's probably going to 5-bet shove me or something. It's going to put me in a terrible situation. So that's why I actually called here. Super dry board. Not a great board, though, of course. He bets, and I'm just going to fold out of this here, just knowing that he's 3-betting with aces and kings pretty much is all this guy's 3-betting with, based on his stats from 170-something hands that we had at that point. So it's nice. That's one good thing about Ignition is when you have a guy who sits at the table for a long time, you can actually build up some actual stats, and we actually had some pretty decent stats on him at this table. Okay, so here we have a poster recreational player who checks. We're definitely just going to bump this up here from the small blind. And this guy folds, which is great. So we go heads up here, out of position. Don't love that, but here we're definitely vulnerable. Definitely want to throw out a C-bet here, and I do. And my opponent raises us here, and this is just a clear and easy fold on the raise here. We have no outs at all to improve our hands here. We don't even have top pair. Don't have spades, nothing like that, so it's an easy fold. Here we have King Jack suited. Raise it up. Get 3-bet. So again, this is a spot I could definitely 4-bet him here. I'm just going to check my ranges real quick on this one here. Oh, did I shut it off? I'm an idiot. Let me just open up my Power Echo Lab again. I want to check this spot here. So this is middle position versus cutoff. So middle position versus cutoff, 3-bet, 9 big blinds. So King Jack suited actually should be a fold here. I called it. So King Jack suited actually should be a fold here, which kind of makes sense because a cutoff 3-bet versus a middle position is a pretty strong 3-bet. Like really any 3-bet versus middle position or under the gun is a pretty strong 3-bet because already that these guys are, these two guys are opening up with tighter ranges. So when you 3-bet guys like, in the under the gun or middle position, you're going to have a pretty strong 3-bet range here. So the only hands I'm probably going to want to 4-bet here are going to be hands like ace queen, ace king, king king, and ace ace that I want to 4-bet. And calling here, I'm just calling with pocket pairs, definitely calling pocket pairs and calling with some suited aces and just a Broadway suited aces really, because this is a very strong 3-bet. So that being said, I did call it, so we should have definitely folded this hand here. Plus, it's a terrible spot. I'm out of position too. I'm never going to really be happy with flopping much of anything in this hand. Here we flop backdoor flush draw. He bets into me super. Now here's the thing. He bets into me super light, giving me great odds to continue. So now I have to continue. So you look at what happens in this hand here. It's a hand that we never should have even called pre-flop. We call it pre-flop. Now he gives us such a great price. We got the backdoor draw. We got to call it. 7 comes now. We could pretty much be done with this hand. He could bet anything, but he doesn't. He checks. So when he checks here, now this has opened up the door for us for a river pro bet. And river pro bets, I will tell you, are super profitable. these guys are folding to river pro bets like way too much here. So we do throw out the river pro bet, and our opponent folds. So doesn't matter. Process over results. We win the hand. Ends up being a nice win for us. But process over results, it should have been a fold pre-flop. But that is the one good thing about that situation, is there still is a way to win that particular hand, and we still won it. Okay, so here 10-9 suited from the cutoff. And it goes multi-way. We get a middle pair here. So with the middle pair, I decided to just throw out a bet here. Don't want to leave it up to the button and have to fold. Super drawy board. See if I can just take it down here. Fortunately, we don't. 8 comes out now, so we really don't have much going on here. Easy check fold spot. I called though. Okay, so I called because if you remember previously. So here's the one difference though is. No, it really is there's not much difference. I mean, because there is the flush draw out there that he could have been calling with here, and we check and he bets makes a lot of sense here, and we could still actually win this hand. So similar to that hand where we had the pair of 9s and we took it down. Same thing could happen here. If we go check on the river, we can still win with our pair of 10s. And if the river goes check and he bets, we just fold it. 7 comes out here, we check, our opponent bets. Now it's just a clear and easy fold. But he could check it and we can win with our 10 still. Here we have Ace Jack, definitely going to raise up to all the limpers. And we get 2 calls, unfortunately. Completely miss this board here. Bet comes in and we're just going to fold out of this. Not too much to look at there. Here's the last hand of the video. Just at about an hour point, we will watch one more hand. And yeah, so I was down in this session, $12. And let's look at this last hand. In fact, I just want to see something. I'm going to actually change this hand to actual currency. I want to see if this hand is, will we break even here? So, spoiler alert, I lose this hand. Here we have a flush draw. I check, of course. My opponent bets into me $1. I think I should just be calling this here and not raising it. It's not a nut draw. I should just really be calling this here. I do. Now at this point here, when he bets into me $2.25, I decide to raise it in this spot, which I think is definitely the right play. The reason why I want to raise it here really is just to take over initiative if I do hit my I want to raise it for 2 reasons. A, if I raise it here and I hit my flush, I can, well, actually, my thinking is wrong. If I raise it here and I get my flush, I absolutely want to have the initiative to be able to bet. However, I really don't want to be bluffing on this river. And the reason I don't want to be bluffing on this river is because it's a very obvious bluff if I do happen to miss my flush. But, here's the one thing we can think about here. If I bet here and the river comes a club, that might actually be a good bluff. But if the river comes a heart or a spade, it would actually be a bad bluff because of the fact that it's really hard to bluff missed flush draws here in this spot when we raise. Because one of the things we're definitely raising with is a flush draw, especially on this particular board, because the only other thing that we're possibly raising the turn with here is most likely going to be a set of 3s. So there aren't many combos of value that we'd be raising with here, except maybe also a set of 3s, or maybe 2 pair ace-3, which we could also be doing that with. But I definitely have to raise here just to gain some kind of initiative. But then, of course, when my opponent now raises me again here, we just fold. And yeah, we were down no matter what. But at the beginning of this hand, we had we lost $7 in this hand, so still it's okay. Anyway, interesting. Definitely was a very interesting session. It didn't turn out the way I wanted, of course, because I did finish down. Definitely made some mistakes along the way. Gonna have to take a look at those ones tomorrow. Post them on the 2+2 forum tomorrow. And yeah, definitely some interesting hands though. It was a very interesting session. Definitely some tough spots, especially that spot where I lost the full house. Still haven't figured that one out yet. But not the full house, the set of a set. I'm sorry. But anyway, this video is a little bit over an hour long. I know it runs long, but it's a session review. It's very important for me, and I love to share it with you guys. Do me a favor, if you like what you saw, please hit the subscribe button. I'm really loving it, getting a bunch of subscribers now. Click the like button, all that other good stuff. And till next time, Poker Dad.